On the program, we will talk to comedian, critical thinker, and creator of the Proud Atheist, Brian Govatos. Brian joins us today with the goal of teaching us and hopefully you how to have conversations with your loved ones. Later, we will mask shame you. And if you're having trouble picking between Biden and Trump, then you ain't black.
Nope.
That's meow. This is Emergency Meowsic.
Hit me with those jazzy vibes.
This is episode 157. Today is May 27th, 2020. Is again 10 on 10 in our floating tin can, far above the world. That's right. I'm Los. Follow me on Twitter at That's Right Los. Joining me as always is Brian. Nope, it's David. The holy Hispanic. We'll get to Brian in a little bit. The holy Hispanic Aguilar. Making sure we're streaming live is Brennan, the hard hat Mitchell. That's right. Well,
I don't have a camera.
We got a lot to get to. We got an interview to come into. Let's just get right to the Brew World Order. Meow. It's the Brew World Order. Let's see. We've got Karbach Southern Wheat. It's a Belgian-style wheat ale. Why do you say it that way? I say it any which way I would like. Join us for the Southern Heat. You know that feeling when the sun is just beating down on you and all of a sudden a huge fluffy cloud drifts over? Don't just make you want to say, ah, that's Karbach Southern Wheat.
Damn right it is.
It's 5.4 ABU, ABV, malts, whatever. Let's just drink this thing.
Right away, the snap sounds great.
It's like a juice.
How much of your score is relying upon the sound of it when it opens?
Man, about 50 to 77%.
Shit, that's a lot of weight there.
All right, what do you think about it, Mr. Brandon the Hard Hat?
Man, I really like this. And I don't normally like wheat beers too much, but
really
you just got to be careful with it. I think, just sum it up, I'm going to give it a 4.1
4.1? That's not bad.
No,
it's
I
4.1
like it.
what?
I like it. That's right.
That's right. Oh, okay. I didn't know what scale you were using.
I just from tasting it, I'm gonna call this a bougie bush. This is like something my dad would drink.
A bougie bush?
Yeah, like my dad would drink this, but like in a chalice, thinking it was bush. I'll give this a 3.7.
Okay. I like this. This is as they would say, a pillowy mouthfeel. Got nice citrus tones to it, and I'm feeling pretty relaxed, like it says it would. So. I'm going to give this a solid 4.6. That's right.
Very nice.
That's the Brew World Order. That's a quick one.
That was a fast one.
That's a quick one.
See, that's how good this was, that it was that fast.
It's the Brew World Order.
Good job, Karbach.
So we got a guest.
Special guest.
We've got a master communicator on the line. Can you pop him up right now? We've got Brian Govatos.
There he is.
He's a comedian. You're funny. You were definitely making us laugh. Critical thinker and the creator of Proud Atheist. The Proud Atheist. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's okay.
I love that.
They can't hear him coming through there very well.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was gonna say I like that just because how you said, and it just even shows like people like ideas evolve, people evolve. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't keep us, or you can't keep, especially people who are thinkers, you can't keep them boxed in a thought when we're called to think outside the box at all times. And I'll say this because I'm a very strong Christian. I went to seminary, studied to be a pastor, all that kind of stuff.
Nerd.
Yeah, big time. But I think on what you just said, I think even Christians make it hard because to walk into a conversation with the idea that you could be wrong is something that they don't teach you. You know what I mean? So even, you know what I mean? So like for me as a Christian, I like to go into conversations not really knowing anything. Like I'm gonna allow you to present your ideas, and then we'll go from there. You know what I mean? Like I'm not afraid to be to be told I'm wrong, because in my head I'm like, all right, I got defenses, I got this and that. So it's more of a, hey, like let's have a conversation as friends, not as enemies.
Yes, and that is actually the keystone point, the keystone question I wanted to ask both today and to discuss about the drama that you invited me to witness about that willingness to be wrong, because that's certainly a lot of what I observed, or the lack thereof.
Yeah, well, so let's give a little background to the viewers here. We sent him some time-coded videos from me and Jimmy just going at it at some times, and we picked some pretty harsh times, you know, just to sort of really make an example, because it pretty much was like that every single episode. And I watched back at it, and I think, man, we're just not talking to each other right. And I saw your video on the Modern Rogue where you were on there talking how to talk politics with your family, and I thought it was really good because I only applied it to Jimmy. I didn't. I don't think about that with my family because we don't. We vote the same. We have this. Our issues are the same, so I tend to agree with them on politics. But as for Jimmy and pretty much everyone that's around me here in Austin, I have to be careful what I say to people. But yeah, anyways, 100%. That's what he's on here because we showed him these videos, and maybe he can shine some light on maybe how we can do it better in the future. You know?
Yeah, I would like to ask, what would you say would be the fundamental root of the inability to convey messages back and forth between the two?
Well, I think it's because he had and maybe I did too, but our biases were very strong either way. Maybe it was we wanted to embellish it for the show, but I like to think a little deeper than that, you know, because he's really like that in real life, and I'm not as like, yeah, but he gets really passionate about these things, and we watched the episode earlier about where he was quitting the show, and we had him on the phone, and he started, you know, kind of tearing up. And he kept saying, I just want to do this by, you know, all I want to do on the show, you know, I'm just trying to do it by logic, but you don't care. Or, you know, we just want to talk stats.
Science.
I'm just trying to talk science, as if I don't believe that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's our disconnect, where maybe there's a more level of grandeur than for each other, both sides perhaps. But I don't believe that I'm like that.
Because that's a similar dynamic where it's like you're talking facts, you're talking data, you're talking statistics of how often I have to reply this way, or that I always say this, or that I never do that. And meanwhile, I'm just trying to make the connection about like you're making me feel like a piece of shit. And when I feel like a piece of shit, I can't perform any of the behaviors you want me to perform correctly. And I know that sounds soft and squishy and nonsense, but if someone feels like an insulted piece of shit, they are just that caged animal in the corner that's lashing out at anything. And reason is gone. No matter how much he wants to say he's using logic and reason and everything, he said to you, yes, you are a dummy. And you said, oh, you think I'm a dummy? He's like, yeah, I think you're a dummy. So when that happens, like that's like
it's a pretty good Jimmy.
Pull the e-brake, because like conversation is now impossible. Once someone has said, I think you're stupid, yeah. Like bros can say that. We can all say it to be like, you fucking idiot. Come on, blah, blah. If we're both New Yorkers, we'll be like, go fuck yourself. Yeah. You know you're a fucking piece of shit. I love you. That's different. That's different from no, I think you're dumb. Then we can't even agree that we're both on a level that we have the framework necessary to have a conversation. So if we ain't got that, then maybe it's good that that he's no longer a part of this.
But
and maybe I hope he can be. I hope he can be in the future. You know,
I know he doesn't actually believe that. He embellishes it for the show. I know he does on that. But it's not
and
far
alcohol
off.
plays a role. Alcohol plays a role.
Big time.
We do drink a little bit. I think he's watching. He may try to.
I just wanted to say something that I love that you said, and this is something that like early on in my relationship with my wife, I made sure that we never use those words was always and never. And I noticed that very early in our relationship. Yeah, she'd be like, "Well, you never this," and I would be like, "I'm like, make sure, because for me, like words are a big deal, right? For me, words have a lot of weight. So I'm like, and I would tell her, I'm like, so if you say I always do something, that means I'm always doing it. So if I always do it, then and she was like, well, no, that's not what I mean. I'm like, okay, so what are you trying to say? And trying to open up the communication to not just generics, but specifics.
You know, it's difficult for someone like you and someone like me to recognize that words are not a big deal to everybody.
Exactly.
That's fucking huge. Like, what do you mean? Word, this is the only thing. But you know what? Every word we use is A, made up, and B, a metaphor for something else.
Yep.
Words mean nothing. This is my phone. What is phone? This is my finger. What is finger? Appendage? What is appendage? None of it means anything.
Yep.
So
it just sounds.
It's all just about intent. It's all just about intent.
Yeah, and I felt our arguments mostly. Here, Jimmy. I wanted to, he finally chimed in. I just want to chime in randomly. Are y'all talking about me? What did I do now? So, see, I don't know if he's embellishing, but I love Jimmy. But our idea was to try to, we knew this coming in that he's left. He go, hey, how was Alex Jones treating you or something? Like, I'm like, I don't watch Alex Jones, you know.
I do.
But yeah, I know you do.
I love him.
But I thought it would be a good idea to bring these two sort of points together. I don't feel like I'm like far on the right at all. I'm just sort of center right, libertarian, you know.
So that is interesting because I noticed in David's face mask. So where do you stand, David, politically?
I'm very right, but I'm
very right.
But in the sense, I'm conservative in the sense that it's a rational conservatism, right? So like,
well, but you would agree that every liberal would say I'm not one of those crazy liberals. I'm a rational liberal.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and by that I mean. What I mean by rational is in the sense that I don't mind someone trying to prove me wrong and getting into their worldview, right? So being like, okay, like take me on the bus ride with you. Like, let me try to understand you. Like even something that you said earlier that I was going to say was one thing that I like to do when I'm engaged in a conversation is I don't like to show all my cards. So even if I am very on the right, I'm not going to let you know that. I'm going to try to engage you and see where you're at, see what buttons there is. And, to me, it's all strategy to get to know people and engage with them and actually break down those barriers. And so those kind of things, like I would say I'm in the center, but people would say I'm like an extreme right just because of the way, especially because I'm a Christian,
Yes. Yeah. Well, there are a couple of things I'd love to dive into there, but each of them would probably be about 3 hours. But I to just sidebar one thing I would love to explore. Do you think you've lost yourself in the game? Do you even exist anymore when you have a conversation, or is the strategy too forefront? And by the way, I'm projecting because I worry about this about myself, where I'm like, I think they're thinking this. I wonder if I can move them 3 steps to that direction, then maybe we could talk about, well, now I'm not even fucking talking to a person anymore. This is now just a game in which there are multiple pieces at stake and there's a strategy. And I don't know if that's what, for example, my wife wants me to have. She wants me to be thinking of this interaction right now.
Well, I always take it on the sense of what's the purpose of the conversation. So if I'm trying to engage in just kind of like, oh, we're having fun or it's a party, whatever, I don't really put much thought in it. But if it is like, I know there's an issue going on between my wife and I or a friend and I, like I try to ease the conversation towards the direction where there could be an answer of reconciliation rather than trying to tell me like what's wrong and coming out in anger,
Okay. So you are not on the same political spectrum as the co-hosts that you're replacing. So that's why I'm curious, like, is the whole format meant to be the stimulation of point and counterpoint? And how has that evolved?
Well, that's where we're at right now. We've had him on the past, and we've talked to Jimmy, and we definitely agree more. At some point, when you do a show this long with him, I mean, we did, I think, almost 100 episodes with the guy or close to it. Anyways, when you do it that many times, where are we going from here? So, and we weren't really gaining all that much viewers. We started going on public access.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at now, and sometimes it has to end. But the thing I was going to come up with here is that we're both libertarians. I feel, well, you're more libertarian than or you said you're more conservative. But now I think it's time to move on and cater to one side at least. Like the commentary that we listen to, the Ben Shapiro's, the Steven Crowder's and such, you know, and put our own perspective, our own comedy, and, you know, enough with the white guys with their own shows. Let's do these, you know, or minority voices like us. So I think that's where we're at here for now, and I'm all right with it. And I would love to have Jimmy back on, but like you said, you know, you saw that clip, and I know he doesn't think I'm actually dumb, but it's really hard to converse when each other side already just knows what the answer is. You're dumb. Yeah, and that's where we're kind of at.
When one side or both sides seem more interested in proving the other side wrong instead of exploring and finding out something new together, and that's tough. I do get the impression that there is some egos wrapped up in either side. And you know what? A lot of it is just that, like, there's a lot of straw already on the back, and every straw is now the final straw. Every straw now pushes you over because it's like, come on, dude, I've heard this before. You know I don't think like that. You know that's not true. What are you doing? Come on. And
that is what's going on. Yeah.
It sucks ass. I hate it.
So why not cater? And, you know, we've get some people giving us a call. They're like, dude, we like your show like this. There's others like, oh, is this going to be now a Trump cock sucking contest? You know, like, oh, come on. So we get it from both sides, and we have Rob, our hillbilly liberal that just thinks you're crazy.
Former hippie.
Yep.
Former hippie.
Atheist.
Just thinks you're goddamn crazy for, you know, you got to be dumb. And you know what I get a lot from these people is like, you know, you're so smart, Los. Like one of the smartest guys I know. Why would you support Donald Trump? Now, I didn't always support him, mind you. I mean, 4 years ago, I was asking my mom, who's a Filipino immigrant, why would you vote for him? Because she always votes Republican. And I was like, he's racist, he's sexist, all these things that I heard from, you know, the news at the time I was watching. And she was like, well, what's any evidence of that kind of stuff? And I go, well, he calls brown people Mexicans. Well, she goes, yeah, well, they are though, right? And it's like coming from my mom, who's a very Filipino woman. Yeah. And so it made me think a little bit. And then the whole Charlottesville thing came about where he said there's fine people on both sides. That was fuel for me, you know. Yeah. I was like, oh, man, I'm going to watch this video and like get it and put it on the Facebook and show. And then it went on. He said they're very fine people. And then in the same breath, he goes, but not those neo-Nazis. Yeah. They should be condemned completely. But I never heard that part. And that's when it started clicking in my head, where I wanted to go on, you know, things on the right sounded like more appealing to me. Yeah. And spoke to me.
Okay. What do you think right now is a political issue that you really care passionately about? What's the hot button topic right now in your mind?
Right now, I mean, if we're gonna ignore all the virus stuff and if that was gone right now, I'd say like the war on drugs. I want all drugs to be completely, you know, legalized from the worst to the best.
So if I take the complete counter position and say, oh my God, you psychopath, you want people to die, you want minorities to die, you want children to die, you want, you know, heroin addicts in the street because you don't care about their lives. So what do you do with me at that point? If you give a rat's ass about our friendship, you know, what do you do with someone like that who says that back to you?
Just they're ready to just pounce on me and call me a dumbass?
Well, no, even way worse than a dumbass. I'm
like
saying
the worst things, like the racist.
Saying you don't value human life. You want to. I'm taking your libertarian perspective on personal accountability and personal responsibility. I'm basically trying to give you the Rachel Maddow perspective. I'm trying to give you the MSNBC audience now and saying you don't value human life. All you care about is your own liberties, your own protections, because you're smart enough. But you know what? There are people who don't understand drugs. There are people who get roped in by bad people and then they're addicted for life. There are people who blah, 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 and you don't care about. You want all of them to jump off a cliff. How could you?
I do care about them. But you know, what can you do? You can't change everybody. What can you do?
Well, and I think for me, there's always a couple of approaches because, I mean, there's times where I like to feed into people's ideas of what I ought to be, to piss them off, to make them realize I'm really not that person. You know, so there's times I'll provoke it, so they'll be like, and I'm like, and they're like, come on, man, I know you're not that way, and I'm like, thank you, like. You made that argument for me, you know?
Yes. So if we take this as a ridiculous example, your position, I talk about this on the Modern Rogue thing, is the importance of a premise and identifying what is underneath everything we're saying. So if your premise is personal accountability, free agency, responsibility is really important to me. And my pretend perspective is protecting human life. Taking care of thy neighbor is what's most important to me. Look at me. I have the heart and you are just a cynic. That's where we're starting from. So I think rather than what we're both tempted to do, which is to say, no, actually, it's never been proven that tighter laws on drugs have ever had any impact on mortality. That's what we want to go to, because that is real. Instead, we need to see if this is reconcilable. If I can at least come this way in terms of respecting personal accountability, and you can come this way in terms of respecting human life, because you do. And I respect accountability too. We know that's already there. Otherwise, we'd both be genuine psychopaths if we were that extreme.
I respect human life, human life.
I was just going to add something that you said that I just love is how we need to learn the other person's language, right? Like, maybe someone is speaking statistics and I'm speaking emotion, and we're on two completely different languages. Yeah. Like, you don't care about facts. No. And so let me and talk
nowadays,
to you about
I don't even know what a fact is.
Exactly. Yep.
100%. Dude, I don't know what to do.
Because you're like, well, CNN says this, and I'm like, well, Fox says this. You're like, well, then this one said that. We're like, but this person said this, and it's like, well, who really is right? But Cheers. But I think that's why and that goes to my point of why I do value like conversation so much. Like, even there's times when I have entered in debates where before I go into it, I'm like, can we define terms first? Because I don't want to go into this saying one word that you think is another word, and we're using the same word for two different things. You know what I mean?
That's cheap, and that's part of that game that we were talking about earlier. That it gets us nowhere. No, it really drives me insane. I see it all the time, and I want to coach politicians whenever I see them speaking and screwing up a message. I'm like, for free. I don't care what party you are, for free. Just let me help you. But the not respecting of truth or not understanding what a fact is, I don't know what to do about that, because I don't know anything about climate change. But I think it's a perfect case in point of, I think I read something by Scott Adams, the Dilbert comic guy, an op-ed a long time ago, where he's like, there's like 18 people on the planet that understand the data. I'm exaggerating, but like, you have such a passionate perspective on climate change, and I have such an opposite passionate perspective on climate change. Neither of us can read dick about the science. We have no idea what these geological trends mean. We have no fucking idea. People go to school for 20 years for that. And yet, how can I possibly claim to have such a passionate perspective on this?
Well, I listened to a Joe Rogan podcast about it.
At least one.
So I have a few points I'm prepared to make. Man.
But it's funny that's people's like credentials now. Like, I've listened to this podcast, or I read this blog, or I follow this TikTok or Instagrammer. It's just like, that's not a credential nowadays.
So then I think, since no one knows anything anymore, I think it's really, really worthwhile to say, why do you care so much about this? What does it mean to you? Or more importantly, tell me what you'd need to see or understand in order to change your mind. Because I think that's the biggest swinging dick move you can make, is to tell the person right up front, if you can show me a fossil of a crocoduck, then I'll accept the theory of evolution. And knowing that I might have one in my pocket, that now okay.
It's true.
Well, funny you bring that one up.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, especially with me and Jimmy and I, what can I say to you that's just going to make you feel better?
And I was going to say, I think
I don't feel better, but like, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no,
go for it. But to make you believe.
What can I say to you? Imagine in your mind, what is that thing? For me as a non-believer in faith, I can of course say, if I see a miracle, I'd be a fucking idiot to be like, I could do better. Like, if God did come to me in my sleep and I believed it was happening, then how could I deny that? Give me a break. So you have to be honest too and tell me, what would it take for you to accept that building a wall is a bad idea? Tell me what you need to hear. And perhaps there's a million things you could say. Well, the IRS gets into his taxes and sees that he secretly owes the wall building company. Whatever. You could have a whole bunch of things that would make it like, okay, he's a reasonable person. At least we can talk. There are some things he could agree on. And I think if you can get that out of the way at the front, then you're beginning with the end in mind.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add was just like one other thing that I like to like get my mind mentally prepared for, and when I get in conversations, is like not to be offended. Because I think once you get offended in a conversation, it puts you on defense mode. And like, especially when it is an opposing view, I'm already entering thinking, you already think I'm the worst piece of shit in the world. So now anything you say to me,
already
I
in the
don't
basement.
care. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, I really don't care. So the more you say this to me, like then that gives me the opportunity to love you more and be kind to you. And you know what I mean? And now that is going to maybe change your opinion about me and change your view of what I represent, you know?
Absolutely.
You know, try not to offend, but try even harder not to be offended.
Exactly.
100%. And you don't have the right. It's like all these people who are confusing store policies with their constitutional rights by saying like, Costco, you can't. I got my rights. It's like they have their policies. Let them be. Fucking you
don't have to shop
there. Not the law.
Hey, where's your mask?
Really.
God damn it!
Oh.
I'm social distancing with myself in my masturbatorium in here.
Well,
Listen,
have you seen a lot of people driving with their masks on with the window up?
Yes.
oh, listen. Maybe they have halitosis and they can't stand the smell of their own stink. I don't know.
You know,
No, I live in Utah. And no one fucking wears a mask here. No one.
That's great.
Can I just say, there was one time that I forgot to brush my teeth and had to wear a mask to the store, and I was like, fuck, man, you know, like, come on, man.
I was watching the video. I think it was the Modern Rogue video, and then it had to say, you know, filmed previous before or something, you know, like, because they know there's going to be people out there that are going to be like, what the fuck are you guys doing so close together?
Okay, you ready? So I do some work for a big company whose technology is one that you probably have sitting in front of you or in your pocket. Okay. I have to develop training material for them for a new product launch that comes out. So I put together a PowerPoint or a training video or something, and it gets sent off for legal review. And we're sorry, we can't send this out. Why not? What's wrong with it? I've been doing this for 10 years. I think it's branded. It's on brand. Yeah, but you're the image of the woman and child on the same couch. We don't want to be sending the wrong message. That I'm like, that's a mother and what?
That's how the Gestapo started, right there. They're like, "Hey, Judith," and they're encouraging people to fucking. I'm stealing this from Steven Crowder, but they're encouraging people to like call if you see someone not social distancing, and they're like, you know, it's like, Judith, Gestapo, Judith. I mean, it's like building that up.
It's perfect, because I have a very extreme. I lived in Oregon for several years, and
sorry,
it cannot. It's a. You wouldn't believe the sort that I've been what I perceived to be like a social liberal my whole life, and I was the Glenn Beck of my neighborhood, like that. I couldn't believe it. But like trying to explain to my friends that like, no, boys and girls are different. Here's my son. Here's my daughter. Ready? Let's give them both a stick. Oh, look, she uses it to pet the cat. He uses it as an AK-47. He's never seen a gun in his life. I don't know what to tell you, okay? There's my scientific experiment. They're different. Okay, I lived there for a while and realized just how polarizing things are. And then with what you just said, about, which I'm just now forgetting, your example was
the Judent, like
yes.
Gestapo.
So I'm hearing that as, oh my gosh, you think that everything is on the Hitlerian level and that you're unreasonable. And you know what I mean? Like that's what I hear.
Yeah.
And I need to I try to coach that mindset out to be like, no, what is he actually saying? I think the underlying premise of that is he's worried about a trajectory that society is going on. I can attack that. Why would I spend time attacking your, so you think the Nazis? Oh, so you think everything's Nazi, huh? It's Hitler to you. That's not
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem you and your co-host had a lot, is you would attack that thing, like, oh, so you think I'm all, oh, so it's Hitler now? Like, no. Attack the premise. What's underneath what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. So that's sort of the issue I have with any person that talks politics, at least to me here, and I try to avoid it as much as possible. Especially, it's weird because they sort of look at me and they can't tell what I am. They'll most likely assume that I can speak to them about, oh yeah, Beto is gonna kick Cruz's ass in the Senate race, and like. You don't know I'm going to say, but I wouldn't say that to anybody unless I knew for sure that they were at least going to vote for for Cruz, which go Cruz, my man.
Especially with that beard. Oh, fear the beard, my man.
Fear the beard, little vampire looking motherfucker. Yeah. No,
he is.
Count Cruz time.
But man, when he speaks, I'm like, this guy is going to be president 2024.
Man, look, Ted Cruz, man. That's my G right there. I was gonna say the N word, but I can't say that on the radio. So that's my G. That's my G.
You could say that on the radio. You got the hood pass. You don't have your mustache right now,
that's
but
my nigga, dude.
Whoa! Get ready to cut that in there.
Yep, we got him to say it. We got him to say it. Bring in
Oh,
the team.
They just cut us off of Facebook. Oh,
Guys, the
geez.
stream just died. I don't know what
Oh
happened.
man. But there would be times where Jimmy and I would find common ground on things, and maybe it's because we give up and we just start agreeing with each other just so that this will stop, for God's sake.
Sucks too. Yeah, that sucks though. The electricity goes away when that happens.
because there's fun when you do dialogue and debate and talk. There's a lot of fun to that, and that's my biggest fear about what's going on with like cancel culture and all this stuff. Like, you shouldn't be afraid to voice your opinion, even if you're wrong. Like, that's how ideas develop. That's how things create. That's how culture ends up being what it is by being able to agree, disagree, and adapt to those disagreements. You know what I mean?
And giving an inch every once in a while
100%.
really puts forth good faith. And a little self-deprecation goes a long way. Like whenever someone is passionate about climate science, my opener is that I promise you I will never understand the data. So as long as you accept that, I'll engage with you. But I'm just like with Trump, I get in. I don't know where I don't know. I'm a loss. Because I am very libertarian leaning. I spent a lot of years in Vegas. I was very influenced by like people like Penn Jillette and stuff, and their modes of thinking, how they process information and stuff. And that is a big deal to me. But my only problem with Trump is the impact that he's having on people.
Mm-hmm.
He's having on people. I don't even think I could claim that it's his fault. I'm saying there's been a big net negative on on the levels of dialogue that I'm able to have with people, because everyone's on fucking edge and pins and needles. Now, who cares? If you're the president, that's not part of your job description. It's not to be a popularity contest as you're running things. Nevertheless, all I know is since he's been in office, my ability to have political conversations with people that end up in a way that doesn't have me bleeding from the throat has gone way down.
I was gonna say one thing that I've
Nice way to put that.
Yeah, one thing that I told a friend of mine was like, I want Trump to win in 2020, but the only reason I want him to lose is because I'm tired of the tension in political talk. Like, I knew it was there, but it just got so bad, and it's like I'm gonna vote for him and I want him to win, but the only reason I don't want him to is because I'm tired of having people shut down when I'm trying to talk to them, or if they see or hear something that I posted on social media.
I really like talking to you guys because it's an open forum. I'm used to being policed by so many guidelines and brandings and stuff. So like, I can't talk this way, but boy, oh boy, we are fucking pussies.
Fucking right.
1,000%.
Imagine the blood, sweat, tears, life, losing kids in infancy. What these founding fathers went through to draft the documents, to do it, to win the wars, to just create something. And imagine I always imagine this time traveling machine. I go back and I bring like, hey, Thomas Jefferson, come check out the year 2020. and it's like, oh, you were willing to literally duel over big important disagreements. Well, guess what? We can't bring up we're not allowed to bring up this about your background, this about your education, this about your perspective, this about how tall you are, this about the color of your skin, because if we do, that's an attack.
We can't even call you a man. We can't say man, sir.
No. So
Where
I
are
got
we?
nothing.
See, and that's where, like, even for me, like, especially studying like Roman culture and Greek culture, and you know, one of my greatest rhetoricians is Saint Augustine. Like, to know people who again love language and use it. That's politics almost, right? It's the waxing of the poetic language
That's body
to
politic.
exactly right. And so you see that, but now, and again, like I feel like Trump with Twitter and memes has proven how language can be manipulated. And I think that has made people say, okay, we have to stop this language now. Man, no. Woman, no. Girl, we got to stop all this because, and now it's pinned people to sides.
So, what do you guys think about people who are hysterical every day about Trump's minute behavior? Like you say, he called the Nazis good people. He did that. What do you really think? If we really try to be fucking honest and not hold back and be as kind and human as possible, what do you think is going on in that thought process, in that psyche?
Well, first we do talk about it on this show, and it's called they've just got to. It's okay. It's a disease, but it's not their fault. It's called TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. I mean, we've all heard it, but Jimmy was a prime example. I hope you're still watching, Jimmy, but it was a prime example.
Jimmy.
It's like I used to, every time I introduce these guys, I'd be like, Jimmy, if Trump grew a beard, he'd shave Preston. Jimmy, if Trump started eating tacos, Preston would stop eating them, kind of shit, right? And that's the thing. If Trump, anything he says, the media does the opposite, like hydroxychloroquine as a recently, and they're like, no, that's bad, but there's science out right now that's pretty good about it.
Well, the way that I am, I'm understanding, right?
Yeah.
Like, because of course you're going to think that because that's exactly what the news is telling you to think about them. So I don't hold that against them. I'm like, yeah, of course you're going to think that when that's being pumped in through your ears.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time I go to the gym in the morning, CNN is on and there's something about Trump. Every time I open Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the news section's always Trump. So I know to avoid certain things, or I look at other political views. So I know not to just buy the immediacy that I see on the web. And I think other people don't have that, so they read the headlines and they hate Trump. And so it's so weird because my dad is very left and hates Trump, and my grandpa, who is almost 90 years old and for the last 87 years or whatever was voting Democratic, now is saying he's going to vote for Trump after almost 87 years. And he's saying, man, the left is crazy and this and that. And so for me, if I meet someone who has Trump derangement syndrome, I'm going to accept them because of course you believe that. But again, that's why I'm supposed to be the bridge. Let me show you that not all Trump people are crazy or even Republicans. And let me be the thing that gives you a good taste bud about us,
Yes, actually, that's very good. That goes back to what I was saying earlier about my past life of religious conversations all the time. So it's like my whole goal right now, I'm not going to convince you of anything. I don't want to. I just want to let you know that at least one atheist can be a cool bro.
Exactly.
If I can get that much, then we're good.
Well, yeah, and that's where it goes. Just give me an inch. That's all I'm asking.
And then next time we can go another inch.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, I can only give my girlfriend 1 inch, so I'm right there.
I know. That 1 inch means the world.
The first thing is admitting it, all right?
Yeah.
That's what breaks it.
So you were talking about Penn Jillette. I mean, he's one of the great atheists, man. Like his stance on so many things, or it's like that's what made me think about being a libertarian. Like the way he thinks is pretty much on par to everything that I believe. I mean, the whole bullshit show that he did with Teller was just magical. Which brings me to my question. You're with Schwood, and you're like in Penn and Teller. Are you a magician by chance?
Yes. In fact, I don't know if you could tell, but throughout this interview, I've been making this whiskey slowly disappear.
Hey.
No, not
so well.
In fact, I don't even enjoy it as an art form.
Wow.
As much as I should. I highly respect the skills, the talent, and the great storytelling, but I still can't get over the fact of like most magicians make people feel dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the end of the situation. There's like an old Seinfeld joke. I forgot what it is. I'm going to butcher it, but it's sort of like, here's a pen. Now it's gone. You're a jackass. Bye. I know it's way different now. People take it seriously, especially like Penn, and their approach is very much, I'm going to show you how we do this. and then I'm still gonna confuse you
Yep.
at the end.
And you're still
That's
gonna feel
cool.
dumb.
That's amazing.
Yeah, a little bit. But no, I actually did a lot of, I started out doing tech work in Las Vegas when I was about 18 years old, doing like the guy coming around to help you network your printers and stuff. I was that kid, and I happened to be that the business manager for Penn and Teller called to have us start working on like their iTunes libraries were all corrupted and stuff like that. Wow. And so a relationship started that way. But
Great.
he's a fucking intellectual giant. I keep waiting to be disappointed by something that he says or does, but even when I disagree with him, he's someone like that, like with Howard Stern or with even like Glenn Beck and stuff. When I disagree with them, I can clearly see how they got to that, how they got there. And I will say, David, I don't see that with Alex Jones. I see a lot of what we talked about earlier about just like, this is going to make for a great, segment. Here we go. But
that's why I love him. See, even those little things, like I like to be outside of people's box. You know what I mean? Like even like somebody could look at me and be like, you're too rational to like Alex Jones. And I could be like, dude, I love the guy because I like to be accepting of anyone and all people because that's what I'm called to do as a Christian, I believe, right? Like I'm called to be loving and accepting and not judging. So even someone like Alex Jones, who I could disagree with a lot and all that kind of stuff, like as long as I could relate with you and make you feel loved, and
it's all about love.
Yeah, not like the frogs, not like the frogs. Brother. But yeah, that's just me again, and that's also because I've seen like how Christians have perverted like the culture in being so like anal and assholes about things. Like even something you said earlier about intention. I remember having a discussion with, my seminary with a few pastors and telling them I would rather have someone tell me, yo, I fucking love you and really mean it than someone say, oh, I love you and hate me in their heart, right? Like I care more about the intention. If the word fuck is going to piss you off, well, then you better get the fuck out of here because I care more about intention than I do words.
Ayn Rand, the Atlas Shrugged, and I'm sure I don't need to say who Ayn Rand is to you guys, but Ayn Rand was once asked, so does it upset you when someone says to you, God bless or bless you after you sneeze or something? So do you wish people would stop doing that since you don't believe in God? And she said, no, they are summoning the highest thing they can think of to tell me something positive.
Boom.
What they believe, they're like, God bless is like the most I'm going to pull from every bank that I can and shove it at you because I don't know anything more powerful than God bless.
Exactly.
So what kind of a fucking dickhead says, no, I don't believe in it?
Well, it's like when a child comes and brings you a rose they plucked from the garden that's your own garden. Like you don't say, oh, get that away from me. You say, oh, I'm going to accept it.
What about when people say, thoughts and prayers after something? Does that compare?
That's rough. That's rough for me because that to me replaces a lot of time is a fucking replacement for action.
Yep.
But of course I don't know. But again, that immediately my blood starts boiling like thoughts and because it's a cliche now. It's a cliche.
And it goes back to what you're saying with intention. Like, are you really going to go and pray or are you just saying it for the cameras?
Honestly, that's it. You're right. Mm-hmm. You are right. If I believe that when someone tweeted out that they were like, shit, I got to go down. I'm down for 20 minutes. Dude, what saint am I going to reference when I do this thoughts and prayers? Then I would have no problem. But I know it's just I'm sitting on the fucking pot taking a deuce, tweeting out thoughts and prayers, getting onto my life.
So for a month, I got so convicted by saying that. This was like maybe 4 years ago. I got so convicted by just saying, I'll pray for you to where I made it a thing that when a person would tell me something, I would pray for them on the spot and say, hey, I'll pray for you right now. Because I felt so convicted about being an asshole and saying, fuck it. You know what? They got it. God knows he's got this. I ain't gotta say anything. No, you know what I mean?
Oh, what?
It's like
waiting on me. God's waiting on David.
God, you heard them. Like, why do I? But you know what I mean? And so even that little conviction of like, hey, don't be an asshole and just say a prayer right now. Like live up to your own standard. And that's kind of like what I push myself to every day is kind of like, I already know that there's a bad taste in people's mouth about Christian, and I already know that I don't look like one. And so for me, it's kind of like, hey, I could sneak in there, and by the time you know that I'm one, you're already gonna like me, so you're fucking screwed. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry, you know what I mean? So, but it's one of those things where I like, you know, again, it comes into play where you have to understand culture. You have to understand things before you jump into it. Like I was saying before, you know, if I'm going to get into a conversation with someone who is very emotionally tied to something, I'm not going to come to them with facts because that's going to do nothing.
What the hell? Did you see that?
Dude, that's the power of
That's a
God.
miracle, bro.
That's a miracle.
I gotta go think and pray. Think and pray.
Hey.
Think and pray.
Got
Fucking
you.
acoustic panel falls on me while I'm talking about God. Don't do this to me.
Bro.
That's going on the
Son
reel
of a
right there.
gun.
Well, Brian Govatos, tell us where we can find you
Yeah, man.
on the internet.
I do some coaching stuff every once in a while. Like if you're trying to give a presentation and you know it sucks, if you need to put together a PowerPoint and you need to give a speech and you're worried and you know it sucks, then you can find me at methodologycoaching.com, and I help you guys through that kind of shit all the time. So that's what I do. That's what I'm about. This is awesome. I love what you guys are doing. I don't know how you're going to have enough tension between you guys because David is such an accommodator. I mean, he could accept a 12-inch dildo, no problem.
That's
He
right.
accommodates.
And that-
So I don't know what
gotta
you're
take
going to
one
do.
for the team sometimes, man.
You ruined
You gotta take one
the
for
next
team.
episode. Thanks a lot, Brian.
Wait, is that what you're buying?
Yeah,
Son
wow.
of a bitch.
Amazon is a little delayed because they're delivering toilet
Well,
paper
you know
to
what?
everybody in town.
I actually stocked up on lube, so. Just kidding.
All right, now you
That's
take it too
great.
far, dude.
I know, son of a bitch.
That's not Christian-like of you at all. Well, thank you,
I'll repent
Brian,
for that later.
so much for joining us, and we hope to
yeah.
see you in the future, and maybe we will get another co-host one of these days. I don't know. He's permanent right now because I like this libertarian talk. It caters to a certain thing, and maybe we can start, you know, making a bigger audience. I
Yeah.
think I don't want half
Let's
the audience
find out-
hating
let's-
me.
Let's find out what you guys really do disagree on. I bet there's some deep fundamental disagreements that'd be fun to explore with people who
How
are
do you think we can
articulate.
find those? How can I
Yeah,
try that
I
out,
don't
Brian?
know. Hallucinogens, maybe. I don't.
Hey, bro, I know a guy.
I don't know.
I do need. Me too.
I know a guy.
All
I
right.
can send you some sample questions, and we'll find out where you guys really
How
want to
about
kill each other.
how about would you like to moderate something between us?
Unfortunately, I think you'd be a really good moderator. Like I think you. Sure, yes. If we find out something you do very much disagree about, then yes. But man, you are just the type who are going to try to be as influential and as charismatic as possible. That it's going to be tough to really push your buttons. But boy, if we can find what those buttons are,
Let's get them.
I bet they'd be good.
Look, I hate ranch. Don't fuck with me in ranch.
I don't
I
like
will
ranch.
murder somebody who puts ranch in my face.
Ooh,
How about
okay.
this? How about this? Someone comes at you and said, "I think bestiality should be legal." What do you say?
What proof do you have?
Well,
I gotta hang up. See, we got him to say it. He's for bestiality. Bring it.
I'll be like, wait, are you
No, he
gonna
said
work,
it.
are you gonna vote for Cenk Uygur? That would be my next question.
I do not sponsor. I don't know who that is. I don't sponsor it.
You're like, look, I don't even know how I got on here. You're like,
Well,
this
thanks so much, guys.
this was supposed to be a Zoom call.
What's your Twitter handle?
My name, Brian Govatos. Good luck spelling it. So yeah, Brian Govatos.
Like Govatos is how I've been looking at it.
Govatos. Oh, man.
Well, thank you so much, man. And
Cheers, guys. This has been a blast.
we'll see you next time.
Have a
Love
good
you.
one,
yeah,
man. Love you.
Yeah. Deuces.
That's awesome. Let's see. That was a great interview.
I love Friends.
I love that you were so good at that interview. I was just sort of sitting back here listening, going, man, that's really good. Like, what the hell? Where did that come from?
Man, I'm very big on reconciliation. I think reconciliation is something that we all need. Actually, for the church that I go to, we're doing this thing on racial reconciliation, and they asked me to read a book, and I listened to the first 2 chapters, and I already disagree with it completely because there's no biblical grounds in that book for reconciliation. And I feel like reconciliation in the Bible is the purest form. Like, and that's what I mean. Like when I engage in conversation with people, like I don't hold anything against you. You could hate me with every being of your every fiber of your being, and I would not disagree with you, and I would not hate you out, and I'll just let you talk and just be like, hey, you know what, cool. Like because obviously there's something there, and I just want to get to it. So I'm kind of like a miner looking for gold, and once I hit it, then that's when it's like let's expound on that. Yeah, exactly. And you know, and there's a book by this guy named Ken Sande. And it's called The Peacemakers. And I read that when I was in seminary, and it talks about counseling and reconciliation. And there is a point in the book where he's talking about his experience as a counselor. And there's a point where this Christian man, a Christian woman, he's a Christian counselor, and the wife had cheated on the husband, and they were still married. And the husband pretty much told the wife, I'll stay married to you, but I don't want to be affectionate with you at all. And so he told that to the, Ken Sandy, the counselor, and then to him, like, what if God did that to you? What if he said, I'll accept you, but I don't want anything to, like, don't talk to me. And like, it said that it broke his heart to where he went to his wife and was like, I've sinned against you because I've built a wall. And so reconciling is also admitting we have prejudices, right? So like one thing I was telling my wife is in racial reconciliation, I've been taught to either elevate.
So are the people there just not worried about it?
So either way, I'm sinning against them because I put you in a pedestal that you can't live up to, or I bring you down to like the place of an animal where I hate you. So I just need to say, screw what society tells me. Let me just let you explain to me who you are. And that's the way I kind of take every relationship.
Well, it's astute, man. Like, you were great. Thank you for being part of the show. And I think, if the goal of the show is to, have two different points of view going at it, trying to find middle ground. I mean, that's great and all, right? But in where we're at right now, and I don't know if I can, I mean, as much as he gave us like all this great stuff, and you could probably do really well, emotions run high with some people, and maybe there's just no way we can overcome that. And just so we just say fuck it, right?
Yeah, well, and I mean, even with this, like, we have callers who can direct the show any way they want to go, right? If you guys want to talk about liberal shit and get us pissed off and talk about that, we'll get pissed off and talk about it. If you guys want to call us and say how Trump awesome, or how awesome Trump is, well, fuck it, I'll jump on that wagon with you. But it's like, you guys could also govern the show the way you want. Like, we got our talking points, but you guys want to call in, there's shit on your mind, well, go ahead and talk about it, because that's what we're here for.
I mean, I invite people, like, we show them that fake news stuff, and then we're like, please just like show me the other side doing this. Like, please, like, and that sounds so middle to me. I mean, doesn't that not sound middle? Doesn't sound like I'm going, like, it's like, you know what it was. And let's go with this. Oh, there was this video I showed you guys. I sent it to you where that black kid was beating on the old man, right?
Yeah.
And I told my girlfriend, what if, just imagine if this was the roles were reversed. This was a white guy doing that to black ladies, like what they would say. And she kind of said, hey, that's racist. Don't you think that's a racist thing? And I had to argue with her. We got in a big, not a huge argument, but an argument about like, how is that racist to point out something that wouldn't be pointed out otherwise, because we're just trying to show the hypocrisy. And it's like, well, that's like, you have taken the word racist and you're making it a mockery, not a mockery. I'm sorry. She may be listening. I'm not trying to say that it made a mockery, and she knows what we argued about. It's when you use it like that, it is racist. Is it racist? Let me ask you that. Is it racist to point out?
I don't believe in racism. I don't believe in racism. I don't think racism is.
And you're like Jesse Lee Peterson.
So I believe that racism is
just evil.
No, well, I believe that racism is a sin of pride, a sin of partiality, and a sin of fear. I think it's a sin of pride because you think you're better than someone else. It's a sin of partiality because you're going to treat someone according to their skin color or something that they can do for you or not, right?
Yeah.
And it's a sin of fear because now you fear the person who is in front of you because you don't know them, so you're keeping them at distance. So I think racism is an amalgam of these three things. But the reason that we haven't hit the root of racism is because we're just talking about racism and not the root cause, right? We're not talking about the sin of pride. Why do you think you're better than white or black or Mexican? Why are you afraid of white, black, or Mexican, right? Like, how can you humble so I don't believe racism exists. I believe that the sin behind it exists. And until we talk about the sin behind it, then we can actually get to the root of it.
How can you disagree with that? I mean, that sounds so precise, and I'll say it again, astute, man. Like, yeah, they're more than just like, oh, you're racist.
Mm-hmm.
There's that pride. Do you think that person thinks that they're better? In this instance, that black kid's beating up on, maybe thinking,
I'm stronger than she is. I'm younger than she is. Of course I can. Right? Like, I can
make it any worse than it was.
Like, I can overpower you in some way, shape, or form.
What else was he doing? What's the second one?
So there is the sin of pride, the sin of fear.
Fear. So you're still in fear. He couldn't talk. He was obviously a mutant.
But again, like, was he robbing him? Was it the fear of I'm gonna go broke, so I need money?
You know the story behind what I'm hearing, and I heard it on Tucker. And yes, it was on Fox News, but I love Tucker, and just
he's good, man. He's been good for. He's been on it.
Where he showed that he was put in the same nursing home. This kid was because he had coronavirus. Now,
Oh,
You may
no.
want to fact check this, but they're putting coronavirus patients in nursery homes.
Is this in New York?
I don't know where it was. No, it was in like Montana or
Wow.
fuck. What was
That's
it?
stupid.
No, Detroit. It was in Detroit.
That's dumb.
Yeah, and dude, Gavin McKinnon said the funniest fucking joke, dude. So he was showing the video, and it was really bad, you know. And then he's like, "Oh fuck!" He calls his dad. He's like, "Hey, Dad, I think I found the perfect nursing home for you." It was so
Like fucking
good.
Billy Madison.
And the dad was like, "Oh, really? That sounds really great, son," because he's Scottish.
Oh shit.
You know, and
See, but that's the thing. Even with me, like, like my wife checks me every now and then, and there's times where I have to correct her. Like, I'll say some racist shit, but it's not racist.
It's
right?
just for fun, right? It's comedy, right?
Well, it's comedy, and that's what I have to remind her. Like, she'll be like, "Babe, this and that." I'm like, "You know, I'm joking. Like, don't go there. Like, I deal with that every day. Don't let me deal with
It's a
that."
white
at
girl,
home.
right?
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
super
she's
white.
a white girl. So
and she's
they seem
10
to be
years
more
younger than me.
concerned about racism than any other race.
Well,
Like,
and that's why today, today we're talking about that book, and I told her how much I hated it. I thought it was poisonous to the church because I don't think
Jesus.
I don't think there's anything good in it. I'm going to continue to read it and look more into it because I want to see what's there. But one thing I told her is what that book is trying to tell white people, you need to atone for your sins. And I'm like, but again, this is a book that's written to Christians. So how can a white brother or sister of mine atone for the sin of racism when Jesus has already paid for that sin on the cross? So I should treat you, I should forgive you for that sin because that sin was already paid for by Jesus. So if I'm trying to get you to atone for that sin, then you're telling me that there's a sin that Jesus didn't pay for? What? That's not in line with what we believe, so you're wrong.
how do you feel about Episcopalians?
I think they wear some dope shit. I love the way they dress up. They're in the seminary. In the seminary I went to, one of the professors was an Episcopalian, and he had like, I would watch his sermons, and he had like this fucking dope ass robe and all this shit. And I was
Wasn't
like,
the
hell yeah.
Episcopalian Church responsible for divorce?
It depends which one. There's like the EPC, the EPUSA. There's a lot of weird ones.
Is that?
Yeah. But his was green.
Can you show is the
Bro.
screen on? Can you show?
His was green though. Oh, I need to have one of those for the fucking show, man. I'll be so litty. Ooh.
We could do a segment where we have people call in and like let's talk to the Holy Hispanic.
Like confession time.
Yeah.
Confession time.
Confession with the Holy Hispanic.
And you'll fucking-
and then you'll
I'll
tell
tell
them
you
the
how
phone
many
line is
Hail
open.
Marys.
You got to say 5 that's right.
yeah,
And
yeah. Say 5. That's right. That's right. That's right.
3 Hail Mary,
Yep.
3 Hail Marys.
Yep.
And 3 that's right.
There
And
you
you'll
go.
be okay. Go my
Go,
son.
my
All right, so let's get into talking about Joe. You ain't black, Biden.
You son of a bitch. You ain't black.
Now, we are going to play this real quick. This is what he said on. You've probably heard it by now. If you're a libertarian or if you're even a Democrat, leftist, or whatever you are, you've heard this by now, right?
I hope.
Well, let's just refresh everyone's memory here.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. So if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
First of all, that's how you tell a joke right there, okay? Now, people
Well
are
done,
going to
Sam.
say, now we all know, do you think Republicans are really fucking pissed off? The only Republicans that are pissed off by this are black Republicans.
Yeah.
Black Republicans, and there are at least 13 of them, dude. And
I've counted.
there's at least 13 that have said something that how insensitive is it to say this? And people that defended him saying this was an obvious, joke that didn't hit.
Who is the
What's the joke here?
Ayanna Presley? Was she the one that said that first?
I don't know. I only heard it. I didn't see the faces.
Yeah, it was one of them.
It was
I
an
don't
obvious
know.
attempt at a joke.
Yeah, well, I think he was trying to reiterate that from I think it's Ayanna Presley, one of the from the fucking squad.
Can you find that
Yeah,
video?
but remember when she was like, if you're gay, if you're black, and you're not,
that's
voting
Ayanna
this,
Presley,
then
she's
we
bald.
don't need you.
Bald. She's a bald chick.
that one.
Yeah.
And I feel like he was trying to reiterate that, like trying to say like, oh yeah, and trying to be cool, but you're an old white guy. You can't say that shit.
She looked way better with hair. I'll tell you what. You still wear like this like really bright lipstick, and what'd you do? What'd you get rid of the hair for, right? Oh, it's a status symbol, and I blah blah blah.
I was going
alopecia. Oh shit! I'm so fucking sorry.
I was going for the same look.
Los.
I was going for the same look on my face.
Oh, Los, you're.
Holy Hispanic. What does he have to do to redeem himself?
You gotta give me 3. That's right.
Well, let me reveal you my confession.
Oh no, you had a sex dream about her too.
With her hair falling out of my mouth, and I like was kissing her head, and like I got a mouthful of hair, and it was that's so fucked up. I shouldn't have called her bald for any reason. That it was a status symbol. She's got alopecia.
Why? She is bald.
Yeah, because she's got alopecia, which is the hair disease that falls out shit, and that's not funny.
But you can still point out the obvious.
It's funny, but it's fucked up that I found out the truth why she's bald. I thought she was doing it because, that's what woke female women
That's
do.
what democracy looks like.
Oh, Jesus, Murphy.
No, democracy doesn't look like what is it? Alopecia? It doesn't look like that.
Ayanna Presley, Jesus, Murphy. Okay. Well, dude, I had a big old patch of hair like fall out of my hair once, and it was weird. It was random. My dad still talks about it. He's like, do you ever figure out what happened? That? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I guess I always felt like I was too stressed back then. So I try not to be that stressed anymore, and my hair don't fall out. But now it's just receding back a little bit more. But I wanted to talk about this in his statement and how obvious that they still like a rape allegation, fingering allegation, and they're like, you know what, I believe her. I believe her, but I'm still voting for him.
Yeah.
How they're so what is it? Loyal. Mm-hmm. What other synonyms can I use? Loyal. They're loyal.
Yeah.
Loyaler.
They're even more loyal than we are.
Like, just to get rid of Orange Man.
It's almost cultish.
This is when we say that's a disease.
Yes.
We're talking to Brian. It's like, dude, by any means necessary. Fucking true and trustworthy.
And steadfast.
And steadfast. Yeah, and patriotic.
They're so staunch.
And nationalistic.
And steady. There's tried and true.
Ardent.
And resolute.
It's not like we looked up any synonyms or nothing.
They're very devoted. I'll say that much. But
why are they defending
Well,
this?
one thing I was gonna say is that, like,
I guess that's it.
Like, we're not afraid to call out Trump.
Well, let's think like the way Brian would do it.
Okay.
Why would they?
I need whiskey.
Well, there's the whiskey.
Okay.
Why would they defend him, knowing that doesn't that sound fucked up? Let's look at it. He goes, if you have any trouble voting between me and Trump, then you ain't black. Like, I should speak in the mic. What does that mean? What does that really mean? That you ain't black? If you don't, basically saying, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black, which is sort of the consensus with a lot of, with some of the people on the right. No. With Candace Owens would say that like they don't need to. Blacks don't need to vote Democrat because I guess historically for a very long time they have, at least till before or after the Great Deal or whatever it was, right?
Well, and the
New Deal.
The thing is, like, the annoying part about the whole interview was that Charlemagne talked about that throughout the interview. He was talking about how Diddy said, "Hey, like our vote, like you're not gonna get our vote. You got to work for it." And so Charlemagne was talking about, you can't get our vote that easy. You got to work for it. What are you going to do to vote
What came first, the Diddy or the Charlemagne?
Diddy was first.
Okay, so they were kind of reacting on what Diddy said.
So Charlemagne
Diddy did it.
Yes, Diddy did it. Right? Charlemagne was telling Biden, like, hey, Diddy was saying, you got to earn our vote. We're not just going to give it to you. And that's what you got. You got to work for it. And then, so for him to end the interview saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. It's pretty much unwriting.
Dude,
everything.
Totally. Yeah. He's basically saying, like, Puff Daddy's like, man, you got to earn our vote. And he's like, well, if you ain't black, if you don't vote for me. Like, whoa, dude.
I ain't going to earn shit. That's what he said.
But then it's like reacted. Oh, that's obvious joke.
Yep.
Was it?
No. And the people who believe that it was a gaffe or
I wish Rob can call us right now.
One thing that I told a friend of mine who was trying to defend him, I was like, "Can you stop calling?
Hold up a second. Can you can you try to reach to him on Facebook? I would love to hear his opinion on this, but go ahead.
But one thing I told a friend of mine was like, can you stop calling his racist comments gaffes? They're not gaffes. They're racist comments. If that were Trump, you would say that was racism.
Yeah.
But because it's Joe Biden, it's a gaffe. He's old,
according to my
whatever.
girlfriend, if you point out somebody else's racism, that's racism.
I mean, you can call me
I'm
racist
sorry.
all day.
I love her. I'm not trying to, but we got an argument over that.
Hey, I argue and disagree with my wife all the time, and that's a healthy relationship.
Okay,
it's good. It's
good.
good to disagree.
You hear that? I'm gonna argue with you more, sweetie pie.
But at the end of the day, the man's always right. So there's nothing you can do about
Man
it.
over a woman, woman
Damn
over
right.
child.
Let's get a little.
I'm not. I don't believe that one fucking bit.
He clinked the cup, so he believes it.
I don't believe that for one fucking minute.
You got it on record, Brandon? Let's quote him on that.
I mean, as much as I believe that like men can like are more dominant, but like let's say you have like a woman that weighs as much as you, do you think you can take her?
100% easy.
Really?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. Well, okay. How about they line up 100 of them? How many times will you
Easy.
win that?
Every day.
Every single
Without
one
a
of them?
doubt.
100 out of 100?
Yeah.
This is where we have to moderate here, I guess. With we need Brian Govatos to
Bring him on.
Govatos.
Go, Vatos!
Let's get more Vatos.
Vatos
Anyways,
for life.
We're trying to reach out to Rob here because
I'm not. Of course, I'm gonna get tired. So I would say 80.
at least one a day.
Yeah, I'll give
If you
him
can
20.
if you can do one every day, could you get through all 100
Without
and
a
finish
doubt.
them?
Do you know I wake up at 4 a.m. every day and go to sleep at 12?
You don't think you'd at least lose like a few of them? Like,
Never.
What if they trained like you though?
No.
Really?
Nobody could train like me.
I mean, yeah, physically
Okay,
a man can
except for-
defeat a woman.
Except for Marky Mark. Marky Mark is the only person, and maybe The Rock, that can train like me.
Well, Johnny Depp can get his ass beat by a woman.
He can, but he's a bitch.
He's a bitch. Yeah, I thought
He's
he was Jack
Jack
Sparrow. I get that. Like, I guess you could overpower any woman if you wanted to, but like, I always had this theory that like women were always they're smarter than guys. I mean, can you agree that women are smarter?
Without
Okay.
a doubt.
Yeah, okay.
My wife murders me on intelligence.
Yeah, my girlfriend too, right? And at some point, maybe the women were always smart like this, and they knew to like be with one of the guys for their own protection because they weren't doing it on their own.
Exactly.
Probably, right? Because there's other dudes out there trying to do what they want, but you find one of them
Well,
that will protect
and
you.
that's the whole thing.
It
So there-
doesn't smell that bad.
So there's a poem by one of my favorite authors, G.K. Chesterton. He says, it's a little poem. He says, if I set the sun before the moon, if I set the land before the sea, if I set the town before the city, if I set the man before the woman, I'm sure some fool would say that one is better than the other. Right? Like
Some fool will say that.
And the thing is, what he's trying to say is that we live in a foolish society when they try to compare things rather than trying to exalt them, right? There's a beauty in masculinity and there's a beauty in femininity. Why do you have to put them at odds? Right? Let men be men and let women be women.
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree. If we're gonna go that way, but yeah, I get but then we have arguments with women. I mean, not all women, but why are they trying to be? They're not as equal as men in your eyes?
Well, if you think about it, no.
have a phone call?
No, they are. They are equal. But
He'll call again.
But when you look at Genesis 3 after the fall, the curse on women was childbearing, and they were under their husbands. So that was always going to be a tension. There was always going to be a battle. Now, I believe that men and women are equal, and I believe that men are not better than women at all. Like, I do not believe that at all. But I do believe that women ought to submit to men in marriage. But I also feel that the husband's called to be a husband ought to be way higher than the wife's called to be a wife.
That's a very like Hispanic thing though too. You know, like that's like
big
that
time.
dynamic in the Hispanic
Yes.
community. Yeah, I don't like. I got a very independent woman. That's what I like about her. So, I mean, that's what I like.
Miss Independent.
But yeah, there shouldn't be any sort of talk about like who's better or not.
No,
Like we treat it as
even-
equal,
so-
right?
so
Do
even
we
we-
have hey Rob, what's up, man?
What up, Rob?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Yeah, I noticed y'all weren't on. I turned it on. It's that stupid guy drawing really bad drawings.
We are.
Talking.
Oh,
We should
fuck.
get canceled sometime soon.
Can you turn my headphones up a bit, please? So we had a really good show and a really good interview with a guy named Brian Govatos who was trying to show us how to talk to each other a lot better, and we may be able to find some common ground this time. Rob, how are you? First of all,
No, just, day by day.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
Are you going to work or are you staying at home?
Oh yeah, no. I'm working.
Rob, how do you think we can get better in communicating with other people about our disagreements?
I don't think it can happen.
And why is that?
Well, I mean, it's just when you have a group of people, one side of the room is nothing but just crazy ass conspiracy theories, and then you have another side trying to deal in reality and truth, and then you actually can con 35% of this country into believing something that they know not true. That's pretty much probably the end of this country if something doesn't change.
What camp do you fall in? Like, what do you believe in, truth, or like which one do you fall into?
Nowadays, to believe in truth is to have empathy, is to care, is to give a dang about people and their situation. I mean, that's just fact. That's just fact.
Neil says so much for that idea.
I'll illustrate it better is if you go look at all the major USA Today, Washington Post, New York Post, on and on and on, and look at what they've all got on their websites right now. Every damn one of them is 100,000 talking about this insanity that we've been living through under this crazy orange piece of crap. Then you go to Fox News tonight, and it's all conspiracy theories, and way down at the bottom, there's this little thing that says 100,000 deaths. I'm just like, it's just like two universes.
Well, okay, wait a minute. So you want there to be a big giant, like I had mentioned this on the show, how CNN always has the like 1/3 of the screen that gives you the death count, as if you don't even freaking know already, but it has to be up there all day long. But news wants to give you actual news and then throws in 10,000 or 100,000. Like you want that to be thrown at you all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Now you sound like Donald Trump trying to explain. I can't remember what the situation was. It was during this coronavirus.
Hey, Rob,
where he was just like talking.
Rob, what do you think about Biden saying that you're not black if you don't vote Democratic?
I've been saying that for years about any gay person, just about any minority person that would vote for a Republican is in fucking insane.
Rob, what you're basically
saying... I don't
saying...
understand one black person could even vote for Donald Trump.
What you're...
A Nazi, a Ku Klux Klaner, a white supremacist.
Kidding me? Okay,
no,
hold up a second.
Not kidding you.
Hey, Rob, I agree with you 100%, Rob. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, dude, we couldn't agree with you more. I mean, if you are not a black, you're not Mexican.
I'm not Mexican. I'm really white.
You're just a fucking white dude.
Look, I married a white girl, and she gives me bleach showers every day so I can get whiter.
Dude, you Michael Jackson yourself.
Bro, I'm getting there.
You shaved your Mexican mustache?
I got that shit off. I'm gonna shave my head soon, then my eyebrows.
And then you're getting a Nazi tattoo.
I've always noticed, though, growing up even, because I was working in the government in 1969 for Governor Preston Smith. And I've always noticed that there were always more Hispanics for some reason that would go toward Republicans. And I never even really understood that, because growing up, all my friends were Hispanic, and they were all poor as dirt, and they got treated like hell by the government. But they were my friends. We were poor as dirt, too. But, they were human beings, man.
So you think voting Democratic is the right way to go and voting Republican is the wrong way to go?
Well, I think Republicans are lizard brains. And by that, I don't mean, you're a lizard. You know what I'm talking about, the psychology that it's the fight or flight.
If you had a more raspier voice, who does that sound like?
Alex Jones, baby.
Yeah, dude. You sound just like Alex Jones. Do you not realize that?
Like who?
Alex Jones, a great Texan.
The heart and soul.
Big donkey D.
Alex Jones is the heart and soul of Austin, Texas, sir.
How dare you?
Alex Jones is the greatest American that has ever lived since 1776. I will tell you this right now. If you try to take our guns away, you would do what Stalin did. In 1776, we'll commence again. They're turning the frogs gay. They're turning the people gay. The beer's turning gay. The whiskey's turning gay. I'm tired of it.
Thank you, Alex Jones Jr.
Mexican Alex Jones is crazy.
I'm sorry.
Well, you sound crazy because you
Anybody
just literally
that
said
listens
something
to
he
Alex
says.
Jones ought to be locked up. They're that crazy.
Dude.
It's time to take them to the nut house.
If we read quotes of Alex Jones, it would say exactly what you just said about reptilian brains.
Oh, no, it is. It's true. It's true. That's in psychology, dude. It's called lizard brain. You're using that. The Republicans haven't had an evolution of their brains or something in their heart or their soul.
Yes, dude.
That's
I know.
all I can say about
This is what Dexter had.
Wait,
reptilian brain.
Rob, so you're telling me you believe that there is a soul?
It's more of a. It's just a way for you humans to understand, because you know I'm an atheist.
So then you're saying humans have souls?
There's some kind of spark in a human.
So then you're saying only humans
And
have
I don't
souls?
know if you want to call that a soul, you're welcome to.
I really wish he was
Just an
watching
analogy.
that interview with us, with Brian Govatos,
Yeah,
man.
that was
Like,
good.
dude, he's making me not want to even argue with him. Just like, all right, because he was saying, when we get into these things, you're like, oh, you're just a dumbass, or you must be stupid if you're going to vote for him. It's like, listen, how can
I've
we?
been dealing with this Republican mindset
Dude,
for
no,
63
here's the
years,
thing.
and it's exhausting.
We'll never be able to find common ground because you think that I'm an idiot, and I don't think that about you. And until you start realizing that there's probably something behind what I'm saying other than what you think it is, like racism or
Lizard brains?
or lizard brains, we're never going to progress in our conversation. And I want our conversations to keep going, Rob. That's why we asked you to call us, even though we're not even on the air right now.
All the time.
Yeah, I dig.
Because we want to bridge that
For me
divide
to
somehow.
change, dude, I would have to become more evil, and I can't do that.
So Brian Govatos was
For
saying,
a Republican to change, they just have to become better.
he was saying, right? He was like,
good.
you got to come out and say what it is, what you want. Say, okay, what you're going to do to make me change is you're basically going to make me evil, and that's how I'm going to change into Republican. Like, that's not true, right? You don't. You don't think I'm evil.
I got a super high IQ. And I've studied for 63 years. I've studied human beings.
But,
I
Rob,
watch people.
Rob,
I listen.
Rob,
and all I know is there's something wrong in the Republican brain mindset.
Rob,
and I'm not sure what it is.
Rob, do you believe that there is at least one good Republican out there?
Yeah, Mitt Romney today. I'll give him credit for that.
So you're saying there's at least
Put
one
y'all
good,
back in chains,
right? So you're saying there's
Well,
at least
a couple times, even though I think John McCain was batshit crazy, a couple times he impressed me during his lifetime.
Okay, so
where he would actually cast off party orthodoxy and go do the right thing, like with Obamacare.
So you're saying
when he
that
made that vote.
so you're saying that there's at least one good Republican out there, right? So don't you think there could be more than one? Right? Don't you think there could be more than one? And if there could be more than one, don't you think there could be a party? And if there could be a party, don't you think that could affect the president?
No, you know what, dude? Because they're cowering cowards.
But what if they're
Donald
not?
Trump.
What if they're not?
No, they are. Mitt Romney's not, because he knows he won't get primaried in Utah. That's the rock dead Mormon.
Well, he's got enough wives. That's all right.
Or are you saying that Mitt Romney is not one of the bad ones because he kind of is going against the Republican Party a bit?
He's already gotten in trouble by talking back to Trump a couple times, and I respect him for it, because that's what Republicans used to be about this. And then Trump comes along and changes it all. Now the Republicans are on the total opposite side of the issue.
What we need is
in the hell?
Brian moderate these
that's why you
conversations.
see all these big Republicans on TV, old school Republicans, man, that work for George W. Bush and stuff, who I also dislike immensely. But
hey, Rob,
they're totally against Trump. They see it. He's destroyed their party.
Yeah,
there
you're
is
right.
no ideology of the
You may be
Republican
right.
Party anymore.
Hey, Rob, when did the party switch? What year was that? Or no, just tell me when they switch, about what time they switch, what president made the party switch from Democrat to Republican. I'm just writing a report. I just need to figure that out real quick.
I'm sorry. Now, what did you say?
When, the party switched, right? So, like, Abraham Lincoln freed the
No,
slaves.
not all the party switched. Some of the members, because the Democrats were tolerating the Southern. That was in the 60s.
It was in the 60s. So around JFK is when it switched around. So is that right?
Yeah, but that was only in the places where you got the lunatic South. It was something because their grandfathers were Democrats. Democrats. And, it was all just more of a weird thing back then. And then when they realized that the Republicans were the racists, well, those Democrats got out and went to the Republican Party because they were racist too. Good riddance to bad rubbish.
But we know that the Democrat Party has more racism in them, right? At least back then?
No.
There was never a time where Democrats were racist at all?
Well, in the 60s, there were a few, but they went to be Republicans because that had become the racist party.
It did.
The Democrats weren't tolerating it anymore.
Okay. I just wanted to get your opinion on that. So are you going out to the grocery store at all and wearing your mask? I know you have to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, I wear my mask. I went to HEB today. I wore my mask.
Great.
I got some tape from Walmart. I wore my mask. I went to the bank. I wore my mask. I got gas. I wore my mask.
Are you wearing it while you're driving?
No, I pull it down when I'm driving because it's to protect that mask is to protect other people from us.
Good. Well, that's good. That's good to hear that.
So
what do you think of people? Would you shame somebody? Like you go to HEB, you said you went to HEB, and what if you saw somebody not wearing their mask when everyone else is wearing their mask? What would
I don't
you
go
do?
give people lectures about something. Let them when they're in hell, they can think about it.
Yeah,
when they're like, "What are we doing here?" They go, "Well, this is one of the things you did."
But
because they know good and goddamn well that it's
do you think
this
they
is
don't
like
care?
World War II right now, man.
Well,
we gotta all get
There's only
together
one
on
war,
this,
it's
and
the
we
Infowar.
can't have this idiot in the White House telling people to drink bleach and I mean.
Wait a
it's
minute, hold up a
crazy
second.
shit.
Wait, Trump said to drink bleach?
What was it? He said shoot up bleach or something. I've seen it 100 times the loop on TV.
Rob, you know that I've been drinking bleach every day for the last week because of Trump, and I feel 1,000% better.
No.
And I've been on hydroxychloroquine for at least 3 weeks.
I gave you some of the one I had. That was the extra strength.
Yeah,
that
the
was
hydroxychloroquine extra strength over the counter.
Yeah, you just stab it in your ass and it goes right in.
What do you got to say about that, Robbie?
Y'all, it's real hard to just hear what y'all just said. Except I heard you say that you've been drinking bleach for like the last 3 days or something. Then after that, because the connection's really bad.
That's okay.
Well, see, the thing is, I have to drink bleach because Joe Biden said if I don't vote Democratic, then I'm not my ethnicity. So then I have to wash off my ethnicity.
Well, you're not black. You're not black.
But I'm Mexican.
Yeah, well, so what? I mean, I don't care if people what they are.
So I could be Mexican and vote Republican?
If that's what you want to do. I told you I've seen that since the 60s or 70s, and I was always surprised because I feel like, the Republicans don't want to do nothing for Hispanic people.
Hey, Rob, let me ask you a question. If you saw 20 people running towards an exit, would you assume that there was something going on?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it would depend if it was in the middle of the movie or something. I might.
So if you see a bunch of Mexicans and blacks going to the Republican side, don't you think there's something going on?
God damn it.
Oh, come on, dude. If I don't even
So
use
good.
that bunch of blacks, there
That's
ain't
so
no bunch
good.
of blacks going to the Republican Party.
There is, bro.
No.
That's logic.
I haven't talked to one.
That's logic
Since
101.
Trump's been president, I haven't talked. You were the only 2 Hispanic guys I've talked to, and I've talked to no blacks.
Let me ask you a question, Rob. Have you ever seen $1 million in person?
No.
Then can you truly know it exists?
Yeah.
Can you truly know it exists,
Well,
bro?
I've seen it at the horse back in the 60s in Vegas. They had a horseshoe with $1 million, these really large bills that outside of the thing. Of course, it was guarded, but it was behind heavy glass.
I got a similar story to that. I was in Vegas not too long ago, and there was a horse fucking that I saw. It was great. It was really great. That girl, man, she got fucked hard, dude. Hey, we gotta go, Rob. I love you. We'll see you next week on Emergency Exit. But we love you, Rob. Have a good night.
Well,
Love you, Rob.
See, I respect you. I respect you, Lois. Or when I saw you, because I was sitting here, I heard my phone ding, and I was like wondering what had happened to y'all tonight, and I figured it was the rain. But when I saw your text message, I called you, dude.
Dude, we love that. See, this is why I know we can bridge the divide between us.
Yes.
Eventually we will.
I mean, I'd have called tonight if y'all had been on, but you weren't on my TV, so
I'm sorry.
I'm
Next
watching
week.
Perry Mason.
Fucking Brandon. Anyways,
Hey, that was my fault. Won't happen again.
We got to play the rest of these videos and we got to get out of here. But thank you, Rob. Have a good night, bro.
Love you, Rob. Bye.
All right. So, hey, dude, NBC and their mask shaming. We have to watch this video of. Did you ever see this video?
I thought it was great.
This is great.
I thought it was amazing.
This is great.
This is America.
This is America.
Right there.
We should have the Donald. Though what's his name?
So are the people there
Donald
just
Glover.
not worried about
Glover.
it, Cal? Are they not worried about their own personal safety?
I haven't met anybody who is. I met some folks actually from Lake Geneva who lived in the area. They were staying a few miles outside of town where I were, and they said they're worried about it. They're worried about that second spike. They're worried about folks coming in from Chicago. But they'll quickly add at the same time, this is a place
Look at
that
that guy in the
relies
back.
on that business. I think people here want a little bit more funding when it comes to these programs so that they could stay closed. But again, I think people felt like the Supreme Court made the decision here in Wisconsin that it was time to open up. But you can see, here, just around. Nobody's wearing them. Nobody's. There you go, including the cameraman. Yeah. Katie.
Look at him.
It's such a shame.
Half your
Breaking
crew's not wearing
images.
them.
Cal Perry. Cal, thank you very much.
Oh, so it's very scary. She's like, this is very scary.
It was funny.
Very-
So on Friday, I think it was Friday, my wife and I went to the Bat Bridge, and it was crowded.
Really?
And I didn't even want to go. It was just kind of like, oh, there's people there. Let's go watch the bats. And so we went underneath the bridge. And I
Make
told
sure
her,
that's turned down and not playing in the background.
and I told her, isn't it weird that everybody's gathered together when we were supposed to be social distancing to see bats when the main cause of this was a bat?
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's play this last video and we're out of here, you guys. This is a video, and it should pop up on the bottom there, and it's a Twitter thing. This is how far this is getting. This is like I was saying, Gestapo. They're yelling at people to get the freak out, dude. Watch this video.
Get out.
You know, we got to think about what Brian was saying. Like, okay, let's think about her intent. Maybe she was a mother. She probably gave her mask to her daughter or something, right? Because she's uninformed, right? Obviously, because she's not wearing a mask.
Yep. She's a little girl.
Yeah, and then what's going on here? They're all wearing masks and yelling, which makes the percentage higher for shit to come through your mask and into somebody else. It's like, you guys are both assholes.
First
That's
thing I would have done is pulled out my fucking gun and said, "What?
Just like pull up your shirt
Yeah,
and show them that
what?
you got a gun in there.
Okay, shut the fuck up. Let me go shopping." Thank you.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Thank you guys for watching. This has been another episode of Emergency Exit Podcast. I can't see the world clock. I don't know when we're coming off here, but thanks again to Brian Govatos.
Yes.
Dude, and you guys were great together. You guys should start your own podcast
He
together.
was great,
right?
man. He was a cool guy. I like him. I love the video that he did. I love someone like that who really cares about that kind of shit.
Anyways, thank you again. So, for the holy Hispanic himself, for Brendan the Hard Hat Mitchell, I'm Lo saying, that's me out.